Thank you for joining us. And this is the Saturday's edition of the program Shagalinku. And thanks to everyone who's been joining us all the time we come here. Let me say that we're streaming live on three destinations. We are on YouTube, Facebook, and my personal page. So on YouTube, it is Shagalinku TV, same with Facebook. And then you can find us still on Ambassador Emmanuel Gabari profile page. And will be on here. Today, we'll be looking at climate change, the Paris Agreement, what has changed, and what we need to do. And I'll be having actually two gentlemen to talk on this issue, but I already have Aliyu here. Aliyu is from ECOCYKLE in Abuja too, and he'll be talking with us on a few things about climate change. Hello, Aliyu. How are you doing?
Hello, Ambassador Gambari. Good afternoon. I'm fine.
Welcome to Shagalinku.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure
Yeah.
to be here with my ambassador.
Okay, so would like you to tell us a little more about yourself, what you do, and then while we wait for Pius, we'll just continue.
Okay, that's wonderful. Without wasting much of the time, my name is Aliyu Sadiq. I'm calling here from Nasarawa State, Nigeria. I am the founder of EcoCycle Limited. EcoCycle is a social enterprise here in Nigeria, trying to deal with the challenges of waste as well as increasing awareness on climate change and how it affects public health. I'm an activist, a social activist, a climate activist, and an environmentalist. I think that's just a brief about myself and what we do as an organization.
Okay, thank you very much. So while we wait for Pius Oko, who will also join us to talk with Aliyu Sadiq here. Okay, Pius is here, so let's just add Pius so that he could also introduce himself, and then we'll take it up from there. Hello, Pius. Good afternoon, Pius. Welcome to
Yes, good.
Shagalinku.
Thank you. Good afternoon, sir.
How are
It's
you
a
today?
pleasure.
And happy Saturday. It's good to see you.
Yes, good to see you too, sir. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're
Yeah,
welcome. Yeah,
thank you.
just for let's assume we have first timers who are also on the show. I know you're a regular here on Shagalinku, so but for the first timers, would like you to introduce yourself, what you do, and then we'll go on to talk about climate change and the Paris Agreement.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm Pius Oko. I work with Climate and Sustainable Development Network as a project officer, and I'm a sustainable development practitioner, climate change or climate justice advocate. Uh, well, what we do in climate and sustainable development is we are a chain or a network of NGOs cut across Nigeria, a coalition that bring about pro-poor development, advocate for climate justice, and sustainable development in Nigeria. So that's what we do, practically or in summary. It's a pleasure once again. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pius, for joining us. And the comment sessions are there for everyone who's watching. Please do drop your comments on the comment section. If you have questions for our guests, Aliyu Sadiq and Pius Oko, please also drop them on the comment section and we'll be reading them. Like I said, we're streaming on three destinations. We're streaming live on YouTube and also on Facebook, and it's Shagalinku TV. And then on my personal page, we're here every Tuesdays and Saturdays just to make sure your weekends are well. Okay, we'll start with the Paris Agreement. Um, Aliyu, can you take us through some of the things that were contained in the Paris Agreement? Because one of the things when people saw the flyers when it came out day before yesterday was like, which one be Paris Agreement again? This climate change people, I don't come, you know. So take us through what the Paris Agreement is all about, and then we'll take the conversation from there when I ask Pius later.
Thank you so much, Ambassador Gambari. I'm actually flattered at what you said, that people most actually don't know about the Paris Agreement. And I think I would actually fault the nationals who actually took part in that for not advocating and spreading awareness on the Paris Agreement while it was taken. Actually, I would say a huge population of young people still don't know what the Paris Agreement is. To cut it short, the Paris Agreement was actually an environmental accord, more of an agreement signed, agreed upon by country leaders from across hundreds of nations across the world. An agreement that was signed due to some of the initial agreements that were actually still agreed upon but never succeeded, or some of its aim were never achieved, such as the Kyoto Protocol before the Paris Agreement. And the Paris Agreement was more of an enhanced agreement strategically aimed at trying to see how nationals, country leaders, and nations can reduce greenhouse gas emissions below the business as usual. You would agree with me that due to industrializations, due to activities, transportation, agriculture, technology, there is a huge amount of, especially fossil fuel use. There's a huge amount of increase in global greenhouse gases, which actually affects the entire nation, globe. Now, the issue of climate change is not just an issue that affects the developed nations or the undeveloped nations. It's an issue that, irrespective of where these greenhouse gases are generated from, it is a global crisis. So the Paris Agreement was an accord that came up with strategies, measures, and way forward on how they could reduce some of these greenhouse gas emissions globally below a rise of 2 degrees centigrade, and then a more focused and a more deliberate target to reduce it below an increasing rate of 1.5 degrees centigrade per annum. So with this, if a collective effort by these nations can come and bring about a synergy, a working synergy, a global working synergy, whereby some of these targets could be met, that would help solve the global crisis of climate change that we are facing. It was ratified, signed, it was actually signed on the 12th of December 2015 in Paris during the conference of Party 21, that's COP21. And then every country were asked to go and then come up with a localized working document that would actually aim, to help achieve this Paris Agreement. And then it was ratified by 188 nations a year later. So I think I have made a brief enlightenment as to what the Paris Agreement is before we go down into details on other questions. Thank you, Ambassador.
Yeah, thank you very much. I will come back to Pius now. I see you are waiting eagerly to also speak. Please tell us a little more of the background that that led to the Paris Agreement, because Aliyu rightly said that a whole lot of countries came up to sign this accord. But another worrisome part is that we've seen every time that our country is always quick to and swift to sign international treaties and accords, and then when they come back to Nigeria, they find it hard to utilize it. So take us through a shorter background of all that, and what will you have to say personally? Pius, over to you.
Okay, just to add to my colleague Aliyu, what he has just said, the Paris Agreement, actually, you agree with me first that, of course, there's global warming, and the Earth is already having a rise in temperature. And that was the kind of danger that we are experiencing that led to countries coming together to agree on how to contribute to reducing this global warming or the rise in temperature globally. That is a pact that we call the Paris Agreement. So it's aimed at reducing emission of gases that contribute to those to the global warming or the increase in temperature. So this was just like Aliyu said, signed by 194 countries, and as of November 2020, this November, it has been ratified by about 188 countries. So coming to the background of the Paris Agreement, which we normally call the PA, it dates back to 1992, where we had, or the countries had the Earth Summit in Rio de Janeiro. That was a kind of an agreement where countries called, or there was a formation of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. So, and seeing the strength or the need to strengthen emission reduction from countries in 1997, where the Kyoto Protocol was adopted. So that Kyoto Protocol is kind of designed to curb the release of greenhouse gases. The greenhouse gases we usually know, some of them are like the carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, and some of the greenhouse gases that are very common to us. So this also was signed as the Kyoto Protocol. But however, the ineffectiveness of this Kyoto Protocol was because some countries, whom seems to be the highest emitters, had issues. That's the United Nations. I mean, the China, being a developing country as of then, had an issue with signing to this agreement of reducing carbon dioxide emitting the country. And so US also had issues with China not agreeing to that Kyoto Protocol, and there was a slow process in that way. And then, so the Paris now in 2015, countries now understood that, and even China and US understood that there's a great need, because of the danger that the world is facing, for us to see how to curb the emission of gases, which is the carbon. And that was where the agreements now came together. Countries now justify the need for us to have an agreement to that effect, so that countries will contribute individually as a way of curbing that, and that's what led to the Paris Agreement. So the Paris Agreement, in a way, is an improvement of all, or is a way to replace the Kyoto Protocol, which started in Rio de Janeiro, as a way of reducing gas emission globally. So I think that's a kind of brief background on how the Paris Agreement came about. Thank you. Are you there, Ambassador? Ambassador, can you hear me? Can you hear me, Ambassador? Ambassador, can you hear me? Okay.
Okay.
Can you hear me, Ambassador?
Yes, I can hear you now. I think we lost out on the network at some point. Yes,
oh, okay.
Please go on now. Yeah, go on.
Yes. So what I was saying was that the Kyoto Protocol, protocol, which was earlier designed to curb the release of greenhouse gases. So some countries, or will I say there was an ineffectiveness in 1997 where this Kyoto Protocol was signed by countries. And so that's because two world carbon emitting countries or carbon dioxide emitting countries, which is China and United States, chose not to participate in the Kyoto Protocol. And so China, as a developing country, was not bound by the Kyoto Protocol because it was exempting developing countries. But China is one of the major emitters of the carbon dioxide. And so because of that, the United States of America, used this fact to justify their non-participation. So the Paris Agreement now came into being in 2015 as a kind of improvement upon or replacement of the protocol, where countries have now been able to rectify and see the need for coming together to see how possibly to reduce the effect of greenhouse gases, looking at the data ravaging the world already. And so countries now rectify the need to come together in bonding to having that agreement. That was what led to the Paris Agreement. And we call it the Paris Agreement because of
thank you very much, Pius. Yeah, finish up.
Yes, so I said it was stemmed the Paris Agreement because of where the treaty was signed was in Paris, because the COP21 then, or the Conference of Parties, where about 94 countries came together to sign that bond, was in Paris, which is in France. And so it was stemmed after the city, which is called, or is now called, the Paris Agreement.
Okay, thank you very much. In case you just joined us, the program is the Saturday's edition of Shagalinku. Please do share this video so that your friends can also watch, in case you're just watching us now. And yes, our comment sessions are open. You can drop your comments, you can drop questions for our guests, Mr. Pius Oko and Mr. Aliyu Sadiq, and we're looking at climate change and also the Paris Agreement. I'll be coming back to Aliyu shortly, but let me also ask you, Mr. Pius, that what were some of those negotiations, and agreements in that Paris Agreement? Because I know you talked briefly about some of them, and then Aliyu also mentioned a few things that countries also signed to. My worry here is that how come sometimes our country is always quick to sign agreements outside here, and then when they come back, sometimes they just pay deaf ears to some of these things. Take us through that, Pius.
Okay, I think in the aspect of the Paris Agreement, we came back, actually, Nigeria came back with its own, nationally determined contribution to that effect, which, of course, we'll talk about in the course of this. So, but asking back to your question on the negotiations, some of the negotiations and agreements. One of the sticking points of the negotiation was the issue of transferring funds from developed countries to least developed countries, which is the LDC, like it's called in some of the meetings of the COP. So, because developed countries do not want to be the only ones paying for the cost of this. So, even if the commitment of the countries were fulfilled, it was unlikely that the temperature would be limited to the increase of 2 degrees centigrade. So, especially some of the island countries. So, after like nearly 2 weeks of this deliberation, as of then, the president of the COP, which was a French minister, Laurent Fabio, now talked and announced the adoption of this Paris Agreement on the 12th of December, like Aliyu said. So, actually, because of that initial issue, the goal was not to achieve a balance after 2050 between the atmospheric limits of greenhouse gases by emission sources, such as electricity from power or electrical power plants, engines, and burning of fossil fuel like the industry does, also and removing of sinks like the forest, the oceans, the soil could combine in this effect, and also the use of technology to sequester carbon dioxide from some of these power plants. So the agreement came to now realize the need for the least developed countries to improve their economies and also to reduce poverty, and also which will make immediate reduction, as it were, or as it is, in greenhouse emission, being difficult this year. Of course, however, there were some setbacks actually after this, because one of the stronghold or the powerhouse, which is the United States of America, in January 2017, when Donald Trump came into being or became the president, some of its policies on climate or climate policies changed. And so, unfortunately, in November 2020, the US, through the proceedings of due process, exits the climate agreement. And despite this withdrawal of the US, we still have about 194 countries have signed to this. And like I said earlier, 188 countries that have also ratified this agreement as of this November 2020. So what's glad to be that we have a new chief or sheriff in town, which is with the just recent concluded election, which President Joe Biden became the president, or was yes, won the election. So there's now a recommitment of the United States to the Paris Agreement, and this is a kudos for us in terms of moving forward. Because as we all rightly know, being the powerhouse in terms of economy, their contribution is very vital to this agreement. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pius. We'll be taking some more questions here, but let's just take this short break. I'm trying to get Aliyu back, but let's just take this short break for a few seconds, and then we'll come back and still continue in the conversation. It's the Saturday's edition of Shagalinku TV. We'll be right back. Okay, so yes, we are back, and we still doing the show, and today we'll be looking at the Paris Agreement. We also have with us two gentlemen, Pius and Aliyu Sadiq, and we're still looking at the Paris Agreement. Yeah, I was going to call it Pius Agreement. Yeah, your comments we expect. Your questions, Pius and Aliyu are here to answer them. Aliyu went off before, but I think he's back now. So let me bring back Aliyu and then ask him a few more questions. So Aliyu, in the course of discussions with Pius, he mentioned a few things about intended nationally determined contribution and all that. Could you take us through what that really means, and you know, how it's been sorted out by countries? You know, so what are the INDCs and what are the NDCs for our viewers who may not know what all these abbreviations mean? Yeah, you have to unmute your mic.
Thank you so much, Ambassador. Just like Mr. Pius has said, he mentioned INDCs and NDCs during his session. I would say, to me, the INDCs and the NDCs, it's more like the heart of the Paris Agreement. The INDCs is, okay, the NDCs is a ratification of the INDCs. Now, going forward, when the Paris Agreement was signed and agreed upon by country leaders of over 194 nationals, there was a need, because some of the arguments that came about was, if the developed nations are contributing more to global warming, are producing more greenhouse gases. And the developing countries feel the impact. They are more vulnerable. Nigeria, by a study, was said to be among the 10 most vulnerable nations to climate change due to our vulnerability and proximity. Now, the INDCs was intended, it means intended nationally determined contributions brought about by every nation to suit into their local context. Now, the global mission is to achieve a reduction in global greenhouse gases, reduction in temperature below 2 degrees centigrade. The question is how? It is not possible for the global north to make decisions for the global south, irrespective that they are not there, they don't know the impact. Now, the ISDCs came about for every nation to go and have a peculiar document that can actually work for them to achieve this global aim. And then every nation was asked to come up with a document that would aim to strengthen adaptation, mitigation, as well as agendas that would help to achieve the Paris Agreement goal, which is reducing global temperature rise below 2 degrees and 1.5 degree conditionally. While the NDCs, now, the nationally determined, hello, Ambassador, can you hear me, sir?
Yes, go on.
Ambassador?
Go on, okay. I can hear you.
Going forward, the NDCs was more of a ratified INDCs that was proposed. The INDCs was proposed by nations before the agreement was signed upon. Every nation came up with a proposal of how they were going to achieve the Paris Agreement in their nations, peculiar to their localized effects. And then after it was approved upon, after the Paris Agreement, upon ratification, it then of every nation that suits the context of the way the impact of climate change affects them. It now became the nationally determined contribution, a working document for the Paris Agreement to help achieve the goal of the Paris Agreement within every nation.
I think Pius, we've lost out on Aliyu. So let me bring you back here. I'm still going to ask you this one. Our country is very good in laws, even when we bring it down to Nigeria. Our country is very good, beautiful in laws and all that. Execution sometimes and implementation sometimes has been the burden on us. So what are environmental specialists, environmental enthusiasts, what are they doing to make sure that things go smoothly?
Okay, thank you again, and also thank you, viewers, for also joining us. So there's a peculiarity with the Paris Agreement, being the sense that it is no longer business as usual, because it was understood that when agreements are being signed, countries agree to them, sign them, and then go back, and there's nothing being done. Just like what we had with the Millennium Development Goal. So this particular agreement has a part of what is called, or what is termed domestication approach, or from the local to the global. And so that was what gave birth to the nationally determined contribution, which is the NDC, which is, like Aliyu said, is the heart of the Paris Agreement, or the heart of implementing the Paris Agreement. So coming back to Nigeria as a country, after signing this, we were supposed to submit to the United Nations for monitoring, the NDC, our own NDC, which is the Nigerian NDC. And of course, with that, meaning that we are now to say, okay, yes, we have signed this agreement, and then this is how we attempt to achieve this agreement. And that was what we call the Nigerian Nationally Determined Contribution. And what was this contribution? Meaning that, of course, because our approach was to see how we could reduce greenhouse gas emission. And so Nigeria came back with its own commitment of saying that we as Nigeria were going to reduce our greenhouse gas emission by 20% unconditionally, meaning with our own efforts as a nation, we're going to do this. And then conditionally, which is with international support and funding, we are going to achieve 45% of reducing our greenhouse gas emission. And we now came up with a sectoral action plan of implementing this NDC, which are some of the key priority areas where there were 5. We have energy, oil and gas, we have agricultural land use, and forestry, we have power and transport and industry. So those were the major area that we targeted coming back to Nigeria. And so there were several measures. We understood that in those areas, we have to also divide them into 2, which is we have the mitigated section or sector, and also have the adaptation sector. So in the mitigated sector or mitigation sector, which is how to reduce the severity or the severity of this global warming. Some of them is how to adopt renewable energy sources such as solar, wind, hydro, and also softening or taking a sustainable transport approach in terms of having electric vehicle and the way of reducing pollution from both oil spill and our transport system. And that's why issues of the rail is coming into revitalization in a way. So the areas of mitigation were energy, oil and gas, agricultural land use, industry and transport. So in the adaptation sector, which is actual adjustment in a way of expecting or reducing the effect again of the climate effects. So building flood defenses were some of our approach, developing drought-resistant crops in terms of agriculture, disaster risk reduction, education, energy, environment, forestry, and then urban and even water. So I'm glad to say that presently there's a review because countries are supposed to submit again. So that's the mechanism of the Paris Agreement, that there's going to be a monitoring aspect of it. Countries will now review to understand that are we achieving this, or are we heading towards the target, or there's a kind of a need for adjustment. And so with that, there's a review period. So after 5 years, which is 2015 to now 2020, countries are now being called upon to review the NDC to see if they are already meeting the target, or there's another step in which they need to take to see how. And with that, of course, the unit which is in charge of our Paris Agreement implementation, which is the Department of Climate Change in the Federal Ministry of Environment, already there's a review process with stakeholders giving input. And I'm glad to tell you that in the recently held post-COP, which we reviewed the Paris, that's the COP in Madrid, which is the COP 25, that the ministry also informed us that water is being included into the NDC because of the need for us to see how to tackle the issues of water in Nigeria. And so there's a review process, and that will help us to know if we are moving in the right direction, or we need to take a step, or we need to address some certain issues to help us achieve that. So that's the approach of the Paris Agreement, which is exciting and also very good for us as a community, as a country, and also as a people.
Yeah, thank you very much, Pius. Well, in case you just joined us, you've missed quite a whole lot. We'll be wrapping up shortly, and my guests are Mr. Pius Oko from Csdevnet Abuja, and also Mr. Aliyu Sadiq from Connect. ECOCYKLE, yeah, ECOCYKLE Abuja, and we're looking at climate change, and we're looking at the Paris Agreement, yeah, and I hope you're all learning as much as we are doing here. I need to ask Aliyu this, as we'll be wrapping up soon. Um, Pius has reeled out a whole lot. What are your concerns, and how do you think we can begin to achieve all this, and also leverage it down and narrow it down to get to the grassroots? Because truth is, when you even talk about climate change, sometimes in the rural areas, and I'm happy about what PACJA is doing, what Csdevnet is doing. A whole lot of grassroots work is going on now. Because prior to this time, sometimes when you get to to the rural areas and talk with some of these women and people, they hardly even know what all that is all about. And like Pius has said, there's the inclusion of water, because yes, water is one of the most very important things we should have. Although Fela say water no get enemy, but then flood is an enemy to humanity. So Aliyu, just take us through what you think we can begin to do to make sure that we achieve the Paris Agreement. Hello, Aliyu?
Thank you, Ambassador. Can you hear me?
Yes, go on, please.
No.
Hello,
Okay.
Aliyu, go on.
I think specifically as a nation for Nigeria. Okay, can you hear me, sir?
Yes, go on.
Okay. For Nigeria as a nation, faced with several challenges of climate change, which is peculiar challenges in the north due to the desertification, and then in the south, issues of flooding. There are several issues. Now, for Nigeria and our NDCs, I think one of the major challenges we have is the financing. Prior to this, the Federal Ministry of Environment, under the Department of Climate Change, came up with a national adaptation plan, which is also a national plan, but then strategically aimed at helping to achieve the NDCs. Now, this adaptation plan is trying to see how we as a nation can actually adapt to the challenges of climate change. The major issue facing us as a nation is financing. This climate finance challenge. Most agencies, ministries, and departments in charge of executing some of these projects that could help achieve the NDCs have issues of not knowing how to secure funding for some of these projects. Now, there's the GCF, which is called the Green Climate Fund, which is set aside by the United Nations for executing projects that can go in line with achieving the NDCs. Now, we have the issue of capacity building. We have the issue of monitoring and evaluation, which I feel there's need for the agencies and ministries involved to strengthen this sector, build capacity of relevant agencies and personnel involved, as well as civil society organizations, to secure some of this funding set aside for achieving the NDCs and NDC projects. And then there's need for public sector engagement and participation. There's need to leverage on incentives to make some of these projects that could actually bring in green employment, green opportunities, and then make it attractive for private sector to engage in investing, as well as help achieve the implementation of the SDGs. Like I said, monitoring and transparency is an issue. Most projects that have actually been that have commenced in a way to see how we could reduce our greenhouse gases. Some of them have actually started, but then the issue of monitoring and evaluation is actually a huge challenge. So I think there's need to leverage on some necessary skills and technology to see the progress level. In as much as every nation is supposed to report progress level every 5 years, there's need for us to have an internal monitoring and evaluation of the journey so far, to know what next, what are the gaps, what are the next steps to take, and then advocacy
Okay, I think we've lost Ali's network there. Pius, let me come back to you. Csdevnet has been doing a whole lot with and Pagja and a whole lot of other stakeholders. Now, take us through what some of this has been, because sometimes people do a whole lot, but people don't recognize or appreciate such effort. So much work is really going on in terms of environmental and climate change actions and all that. So much is going on, and then it's sometimes underreported. It's not like entertainment or politics where it's always thrown at our faces. And that's why I appreciate every time I bring you guys here to talk about these issues, because we get a lot of feedbacks. Like I said, when the flyers came out, the first thing everyone was calling me was that, Ambassador, which one is Paris Agreement again? You don't come with all these your topics and all that. So how do we also begin to appreciate some of the work that the organization does, and how can we leverage on this and also assist to step it down to rural areas?
Okay, thank you once again. Of course, as a stakeholder, Pan-African Climate Justice Alliance, which is at the continental level with over 1,000 members, and then the Climate and Sustainable Development Network in Nigeria, which are with about 300 members still counting across the 6 geopolitical zones and also the states in Nigeria. We see the need for one thing. First, we talk about monitoring and transparency, which, like Aliyu said, this is kind of establishing a database to check the current mitigation actions, to track progress towards implementing the NDC. And so with this, what we did was to partner with Pan-African Climate Justice Alliance, PAGJA, and ATPS, which is African Technology Institute in Nairobi, to develop a monitoring and tracking toolkit for the NDC in Africa. So it's not even specific to Nigeria alone, but it's in Africa. So this was because we first carried out a study with 8 African countries, including Nigeria, Cote d'Ivoire, Ethiopia, Kenya itself, and Gabon in Central Africa, and 8 African countries, Botswana. So we carried out a study to understand some of the NDCs of African countries. And so we discovered that there were some lapses in terms of first looking at the interagency collaboration in terms of agents, because we all need ourselves to be on track to this. So the interagency was having issues of funding. So we are now developing a tracking toolkit to for us to understand or to track where our progress is, and that will help us go a long way. That is our own effort in our own way. Then, as far as in terms of awareness and advocacy, is one of our advocates, or is one of our core area where we use media, just like Shagalinku is doing and hosting us, to let people understand what the NDC is all about, what the Paris Agreement is all about, and what we need to do as individuals, as community, as a country, and also let the international community know where and how to support countries in achieving this. So that's another approach. Of course, when we came back, for example, every year, what we normally do, we have the pre and the post COP. So pre COP is that we are going to the COP, which is the Conference of Parties, let people, stakeholders, understand what Nigeria's position is, what we're going to discuss there. When we come back, we bring back what the country was able to achieve, what Africa was able to achieve, what was discussed in that COP, so that there will be inclusiveness, both at the grassroots, because we know there won't, it's not everybody that could be represented there. But as the major stakeholders, of course, we take some people there, and also we take those information back to the grassroots, so that there will be even spread in understanding. Because it's when you understand that you'll be able to take actions that are necessary for us to achieve this goal. So those are some of the things we do. Of course, we use media, like the online media, to also share some of this information. But of course, we use the social media handles, the Facebook, the Twitter. It's part of our efforts that we use the stream media also to propagate this. And when we host events, of course, we bring the media. We also go to communities like, of course, before the COVID-19, we had what we call a kind of strengthening communities on forest management, where we go to communities to understand, to let them understand the need for them to keep their forests as a sequester of carbon. We also help as well to bring government to bear, because like the postcard, when we have representative of the government, especially the focal point, which is the Department of Climate Change. We have ECOWAS, which we also have side events. We had side events actually in Paris, in Madrid last year, when the COP was in place. We had ECOWAS on ground, which is the West African regional body. Of course, recently we also have even the British, because we understand that Scotland is holding the next, or is hosting the next COP26, and then the British government also is the one hosting us. So the British government, of course, have been on ground to let us understand their position in helping Africa, helping Nigeria to meeting its targets in the NDC. So those are some of the things, of course, we do. And then there's more need for private sector engagement, identifying and promoting investment opportunities that are low carbon, or that are approaching low carbon technology and innovations and opportunities in the NDC. Those are some of the things, of course, we are going to do. But like I'll say lastly, finance and investment mobilization is very important. And of course, we can't achieve much without these key areas. And that, of course, is where we are calling on everybody to come on ground. Let us find a way of helping ourselves, because like the COVID-19 already affecting us, climate change, of course, is affecting billions of lives across the globe and millions of lives here in Nigeria. We can't really neglect it. We need to come on ground, make efforts to make sure this is achieved. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Pius, for that. So we're wrapping up now, and I will give all of you 1 minute to tell us your last words, what you think we can do as way forward. If there are suggestions and all that. I really like the fact that you talked extensively about what Csdevnet and PACJA has been doing in collaborations and all that, and also with the Ministry of Environment. So finally, Aliyu, I'll start with you. What will be your last word as you talk with us? What will be your passing words? What would you like to say finally in 1 minute?
Thank you so much, Ambassador. To all the viewers listening to us, I think I'd like to say the Paris Agreement is everyone's responsibility. We could actually contribute our quota, irrespective of our roles in the society, towards helping the government, towards encouraging, pushing, and making sure that the political will is there for the action to be driven. Without this political will, it will keep becoming just a negotiation or an agreement without tangible impact. So I'm urging on everybody listening today that has learned about the Paris Agreement to see how they could contribute their quota. Just the way Shagalinku is doing a wonderful job.
Okay, he's gone off. Network is so terrible, but then it's a good thing we let him. Okay, he's back. Let me just quickly let him say his final words or parting words as we wrap up. So, Aliyu, quickly conclude. You went off while you were trying to sign out.
Ambassador.
Please go on, Aliyu. Yes, please go on. Hello? Yeah, Aliyu, can you sign off? Okay. We'll come back if Aliyu is still here. So, Pius, I'll need you to, first of all, tell us the way forward, and then as you put your pattern shots out as well. So, what next? What has changed, and what can we begin to do differently as we go through the new normal? You haven't called that today.
Yes, of course, we are in the new normal, even in the era of climate change. That's how it's the Paris Agreement is not business actually as usual. We need to change our approach. So, of course, just like you said, we have the what has changed after Paris Agreement. So, what has changed for us as an organization? First, we have what we call ambition beyond Paris. And what does this entail? It means we are celebrating NDC and Paris Agreement implementation in Nigeria in our own little way as a group. So, it's www.csdevnet.org. Please join us in this effort. We can't do it alone. It's together. We need political buy-in. We need community buy-in. We need individuals buy-in in this vision of achieving the Paris Agreement and the Nigeria NDC by 2030. So our own, as Pan-African Climate Justice Alliance and Climate and Sustainable Development Network of Nigeria, our visibility and transformational story in Africa and in Nigeria rests on the theory of change, which is an environment free from adverse impact of climate change, sustainable development, equity, and justice for all. So let us keep on the advocacy on environmental sustainability. Let us implement programs that are environmental friendly and are sustainable. Let us build capacity of citizens and organizations to articulate such need and aspiration. And their access to the decision making is very key in this process. Let us coordinate the engagement within Nigerian space and also with the government and other stakeholders on climate change and sustainable development issues. I think with that, we'll be able to, through our various channels, make an impact and collectively achieve the Paris Agreement and also the NDC. I think that's the way to go. Thank you so much. Thank you. And also, wonderfully, I want to thank Shagalinku TV for an opportunity like this and also giving this such opportunity for us to extensively or extend our information to citizens across Nigeria and also the globe, pertaining better understanding of some of the efforts we need to take and some of the agreements we've signed and how we could implement such agreement. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pius, for that wonderful one. Well, to our viewers, also thank you for joining us. The videos will be here after the program because a lot of our viewers also watch, the country zone is always different. So our viewers from Philistine, our viewers from Asia, our viewers from other parts of the world, they always watch shortly after the program and then drop their comments. So keep the conversations going on. It's an unending one, and would like also to hear from you, your feedbacks. If you still have questions for our guests, do drop them on the comment section. Sometimes people also prefer to WhatsApp us their questions or observations, and so sometimes we take such questions back to our guests for them to sort out, and we bring them back for a part 2 and all that. So I really must thank everyone. Remember, the videos will still be on YouTube and on Facebook. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. It is Shagalinku TV. And then click on the notification button. Whenever we come on live, it will notify you. And then you can join us. Thanks to my 2 very wonderful guests, to Mr. Pius Oko and also to Mr. Aliyu Sadiq. And it's been a pleasure having all of you here. My name is Ambassador Emmanuel Gabari. Hope to see you all again, God willing, on Tuesday afternoon, 2 p.m. for the Tuesday's edition. Until then, have a beautiful Saturday and enjoy the rest of your weekend. God bless you all and have a great day. Bye-bye.